What's up, Spikes? Jim here, coming at you from the beautiful Spike Feeders World Headquarters here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Got something a little different for you today. We reached out to all of our wonderful patrons out in Patronland, and they gave us a list of questions that they want answers to. So I'm not going to hold things up. Let's get right to it.
Commander Mechanic asks, day jobs? Do you have one? What is it?
My day job is that I work for an insurance company. In the head office, I work in broker support, and I also work as an artist.
I actually edit videos full-time now. I didn't when I started the channel, but my work on the channel actually led to this job. So what I do is what's called micro-learning, which is short 5-minute videos, which you might recognize from our Better Know a Combo series. They tackle one topic, and we just like to get the information out there in a really quick and concise manner.
I do almost the same thing that Maddie does. I answer phone calls for claims, though.
I do statistical analysis and data reconfiguration for a large multinational corporation. Or wait, no, that's Chandler from Friends. I'm a commercial underwriter.
I work at a telecommunications company now. Right now I'm doing mostly the marketing and the social media stuff, and I'll be transitioning into products and things like that once we start to expand what we actually sell.
I work for an agriculture research company as a research associate, focusing primarily on helping the corn breeding program as well as putting input as well on the disease side of things.
Yeah, I've got a day job. I work for the local university as an educational technologist. Essentially what I do is I sort of interface between hard IT systems and professors, helping them understand what options they have for distance delivery of things like classes, lectures, things like that. Vance asks, what things, lighting, decks, playstyles, make for the best or most enjoyable stream games?
For webcam gameplay, there's actually a few things. I would say, technologically speaking, you need at least a minimum acceptable camera. 1080p is great, but if you can't get there, 720p is totally okay. But lighting is probably the biggest thing in the world. Try to avoid glare. If you want, I'll link to a video up here that I've done, but just try your best to avoid glare. For decks and playstyle, one thing that I've actually found producing Magic content just in general is that games tend to be a little bit more entertaining if there's less interaction. And I say this with a big ol' asterisk, but I found that games where you're grinding out an advantage with a stax deck over the course of an hour and a half, at least from what I can tell from our retention numbers, people don't find that as interesting to watch. So they do want to see games that are a little bit more wide open, where there's a little bit more swingy, momentum. So I would say that if you're looking to play on webcam and looking to make really entertaining stuff for other people to watch, that maybe you want to cut a few pieces of interaction.
Vance asks, Cactus logo sleeves when?
So we're going to be hopefully getting Cactus sleeves soon. We'll see. They're very expensive to get. You have to order a lot of them all at once. So I've been in talks with Dragon Shield to see if we can get something at a lower quantity, and hopefully that'll be coming in 2021. We'll see what happens.
Andrew in Lightning ask, what sorts of hobbies do you have outside of Magic?
I watch a lot of anime. I play a lot of video games. Apex Legends is a big one right now, and I recently got into Pokemon again with Pokemon Sword, and lots of, well, not lots anymore, but a couple phone games on the side as well.
Art. I make art pretty much in all of my free time, or usually I'm playing Nintendo Switch. In the middle of COVID, it's really difficult to pursue your other hobbies, so that's pretty much what I do.
My main hobby is just playing video games. I've been having a lot of fun playing Apex Legends lately with a bunch of people in our Discord. I also like playing Among Us because it brings people together. You can kind of get 10 cool people all in a room and just spend a whole night having fun and joking around, and it feels really social. It's sort of the most social thing that we can do right now in the world.
Outside of Magic, I play a lot of board games. I also play video games. I don't really have a ton other hobbies outside of that. I do cook, but that's part hobby, part necessity. I have been looking at picking up other ones, so if anyone has any recommendations, send them my way.
I'm heavily into D&D. I like things like 40K, building models. Do some video gaming quite frequently. Aside from that, normally I'm more of a outdoors cat, but with COVID, that's sort of fallen by the wayside.
Outside of Magic, I play quite a bit of video games in my personal time. I play a lot of Farming Simulator. Hold on. This is completely impromptu. I actually have a SciTech side, well, I guess it's Logitech now, a Logitech side panel because I farm way too much in my pastime, as well as in real life. I do a lot of farming, watch some baseball, about it.
No Coin Flips asks, who's the most interesting Among Us player among you?
I think it's Bill. Bill does some really weird stuff when we're playing. Like sometimes I'll walk into admin in Skeld and he'll just be standing on a vent. And he's not the imposter, but like, I don't know. What are you playing at, Bill?
I think that I'm the most interesting Among Us player. That maybe conceded a little bit, but I do a lot of really chaotic stuff. Most of the time, I'll favor having fun over winning the game.
I'd like to say me, but I'm probably wrong, but that's just because I aggressively murder everybody. So after a couple rounds, people kind of figure it out, and then they're on to me right away.
I think I do pretty well overall. It's a really hard question to answer. I think really what makes Among Us interesting is how interesting you make it. And so if you come in with the idea of, hey, I'm going to play really hard and win this game, maybe it's not as fun. As far as interesting goes, I think anytime you're just having a good time, that's interesting. So,
I'd probably say Alex. Alex is the most I'm just going to go with Alex. He's like easily the most thoughtful of any of us, but most interesting, I don't think I've played enough.
Josue asks, is there something you wish the Spike feeders could branch out to, beyond MTG content? Other things you wish to incorporate into the mix?
So I know that we've talked a little bit about branching into streaming board games. We also have a couple of capture cards, so we've been talking about filming like video gameplay and stuff more on Twitch. That's something that I'm really interested in. I wanted to play Animal Crossing. I think there's a lot of cool games coming out next year that would be fun to stream.
I'm sure lots of people are going to be talking about this, but I would love to play strategy board game content. I think that this is one area where there just isn't a whole lot of produced content. I think that the camera and microphone setup that we've got right now lends itself really well to 4-player board games. It's something that I'm going to look into a little bit more once we're out of quarantine, once Shannon and I can have people over. But I think the biggest thing that's standing in our way there is easily digitized assets. That's one leg up that Magic content has on everything else, is that we've got databases all over the place of really high quality PNG images with transparent backgrounds. There doesn't necessarily exist all of that stuff for other board games.
I'm just going to say Farming Simulator all the time.
Justy asks, what is everyone's favorite food? Also, live cooking stream when?
So I for sure don't have a favorite food. I do have a least favorite food though, which is blue cheese. I absolutely hate it and it smells awful. Other than that, I like to eat pretty much anything.
I would say my favorite thing is ginger beef. Like if you go to a Chinese food restaurant, the Americanized ginger beef, but with one caveat, I need it to have a ton of ginger. So typically it's just like a teriyaki sauce. It's like soy sauce and brown sugar, but I need like ginger in there. I want it to taste like ginger. So I think that's probably my favorite thing. Ginger beef, a little bit of fried rice, can't go wrong. As far as live cooking streams, that's actually something that I had planned to do over my Christmas break that I never actually ended up doing. So I've now written that on my list, and we might see one of those before the end of January. We'll see.
My favorite food, like bar none, is chicken and waffles. You get a nice like sweet waffle, nice savory chicken, some sort of maple syrup dealie on top. I would eat that every day for the rest of my life, which would be not a long time, very short.
My favorite food is probably pizza. I think it's one of the few things that I could eat almost all the time, always. And as far as live cooking streams go, that's going to depend on a couple of things. I know I cook, and so does Jim. We also maybe want to reach out to some people who also cook. Who knows? We'll see.
I think it's really hard to go wrong with a really well-prepared classic steak. Asparagus with, what's that egg sauce called? The golden stuff. It's not beignets, that's something else. Anyway, it's made out of eggs and it's really tasty.
So I just like anything that's extremely flavorful, has a lot of fats or butter. Well, butter is a fat, but it has a lot of fat in it. A little sugar, salt, garlic. You put that stuff into a dish and I'm probably going to eat it pretty darn quickly.
Court asks, what would be your perfect chaos draft? Choose 3 packs apiece.
My perfect chaos draft sets would be World Wake, New Phyrexia, and Modern Masters 1.
If I were to do a chaos draft, and I'm pretty sure I've actually done this exact chaos draft in the past, it would be Ravnica City of Guilds, Morningtide, and Eventide, because I think with the guild-colored cards from Ravnica and the hybrid-colored cards from Morningtide, Eventide, I think it would be really, you could probably put something relatively cohesive together.
Battle Bond, Conspiracy, and Modern Horizons.
For me, I just enjoy the higher power level of Modern Master, or of any of the Master sets, so I'd probably say Eternal Masters, Double Masters, and Ultimate Masters would probably be my favorite of the sets.
Ron asks, who are some of your favorite painters or other visual artists? What is at the top of your list as far as a Magic card you would like to alter, but haven't done yet?
Some of my favorite painters, I really like Lucas Graciano. I really like Seb McKinnon. I think he's a really talented Magic artist. Other than Magic artists, I like a lot of ceramic artists. One of my favorites is Brett Kern. If you look up his artwork, he does these really cool ceramic inflatable dinosaurs. I have 2 of them, they're amazing. I like to alter a drop of honey. I think a lot of altar artists might say pieces of power, but I've had opportunities to paint those things. I had a set and then I did paint it. Drop of Honey to me feels like one of those cards that you could do some really cool things on, but no one's ever going to give you that card to alter.
Liage Pies asks, with the introduction of artist Secret Lairs, who is your preferred Secret Lair artist, and what's at least one card that would be included?
My Secret Lair artist is Quentin Hoover. I liked Quentin Hoover before he died, just saying. I think a lot of his art is really nice. And I would really like to see that as a Secret Lair. Zubin Doppelganger would be a really cool card to have on that.
I would really want to see a Steve Argyle, because like his like quintessential Magic card is the Liana, or also the 4 demons that were part of the pact. I think would be really neat flavor cards.
I'd love to see a Victor Adame Minguez Secret Lair. First of all, his art's fantastic. I was so excited when I saw the War of the Spike playmats come up. He's the only Magic artist that I've got a framed piece up, and so I can't imagine buying anybody else's.
So I used to own all the original Rob Alexander signed Shocklands in foil. I'd honestly just want a Secret Lair that was all 10 Rob Alexander Shocklands, and then I just get him to sign them.
Lined Paper 92 asks, outside of Magic, what is something that you would welcome an opportunity to talk for hours about right now in your lives?
I'm a relatively new father. I have a time of recording. I have a 10-month-old baby, and I could talk about her forever.
I always look for an excuse to talk agriculture. I absolutely adore talking about agriculture.
Inbit Matt asks, favorite music genre, artist, and or song? Favorite book?
So my favorite music genre, it used to be metal. Iron Maiden was my favorite band for a really long time. Right now, I'm really big into K-pop, and my favorite group is called Twice.
As far as books go, The Count of Monte Cristo, I think, was a very, very good book.
Probably Dune by Frank Herbert. It's been my favorite book for forever. I started reading that back when I was, I think, 13 or 14. It's one of the few books that stuck with me my entire life.
This is gonna surprise probably no one. I am a country music fan. My favorite artist, don't really have one. I listen to a lot of 90s country though, and a little bit older. Like Garth Brooks would be one of them, George Strait. Favorite book? I don't have a favorite book, but I have a favorite book series, is the Powder Mage trilogy by Brian McKellen. It's a fabulous, it's gunpowder fantasy, and it's actually really well written, and I enjoy it a bunch.
A 900 IQ monkey asks, favorite candy bar?
Coffee Crisp.
Definitely a Milky Way. I'm a pretty simple guy to please.
Best candy bar is by far the Take 5. They're just kind of impossible to find in Winnipeg, unfortunately. My runner-up would be probably a Crispy Crunch. Crispy Crunch also really good.
Favorite candy bar is Big Turk. For those of you not familiar, it's I guess it's like Turkish delight. It's almost like a jam covered in chocolate. It's rose flavored.
I'm a big sucker for anything with peanut butter in it. So Reese's Pieces, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, if that counts as a candy bar. I would say anything with peanut butter in it, I'm sold.
I prefer potato chips.
Countstorm123 asks, have you thought about doing a Judge's Corner style mailbag show? Actually, before I ever joined the Spike Feeders, one of the things that I was looking at doing on the channel was sort of rules knowledge videos. The problem is the format's kind of awkward because if you do live examples, they get either really short or really boring. And also a lot of the content's very repetitive. There are certain aspects of the rules that come up very frequently, and there's others that even judges don't really need to know. And so it's sort of a tough market to get into because only a certain subsection of people even find it interesting. And having the weekly content or even monthly content for something like that gets kind of tough.
I don't think we have thought about doing a mailbag show. It's definitely not out of the question. It's just not something I think we've talked about it in depth.
Drac Paladin asks, what do you feel is the most important factor into why your chemistry works with the people that surround you, and how each individual's personality traits help develop our channel?
I think the most important factor into why our chemistry as a group works really well together is that we all have really different strengths. We all have different things that we're good at or weak at. So I think it's easy for us as a group to complement each other.
How long we've known each other?
I just think we're all great people. We get along fairly well. We're all, I don't want to say type A personalities, but we've all got that spark of we're all going to do what we like to do best, and nobody really tries to crap on that, I guess, for lack of a better term.
In all honesty, I think it's just the fact that none of us are afraid to have fun. And we don't really, as much as we play stax decks and decks that are mean, well, some people would consider mean, we're not really there to try to ruin anybody else's fun. And we all know we're there to have fun, just have a good time.
Ken Bauman asks, if y'all could forever change one thing Genie style about Magic the Gathering, what would it be?
Like Genie style, if I could just like snap my fingers and something was gone, it would be the collective remembrance, reference, and knowledge of antiquated game mechanics. People sort of like reminisce, but also at the same time will ask from a judge, I guess a judge perspective, will ask questions about how does ante work? What happens if I have a card in the ante zone? Things like that.
I think if I had one wish, I would replace all squirrels with brushwags. I think that WotC has done my boy dirty.
If I could change one thing about Magic the Gathering is I'd like to give the current vision people, for lack of a better term, a crack at going back and starting from here. I'm not sure whether Magic would have been advanced enough for printing processes for stuff like dual face cards, but I think Magic both enjoys its longevity and also regrets it in a lot of ways. Things like the reserve list, design philosophies of older sets, and even just down to the way that the land system works. I think being able to take modern sensibilities back in time and cement the game with those types of things, I not only think Magic gets better, but I also think gaming in general.
One of two things. I'd either abolish the reserve list so everyone can have access to the older Magic cards as they want without having to spend an arm and leg, or I'd completely remove the stigma around proxies.
Beyond the Machina asks, how do you feel CEDH and EDH in general have shifted since you started playing? How do you feel like it's shifted for the better or for the worse? And how would you like to see things change going forward?
Well, I started playing EDH in 2013 when the decks came out, and then it just wasn't a really huge format. There were a lot of people that played it, but I didn't think there was a lot of innovation in the format because a lot of people just weren't interested in it. Now that it's obviously progressed so many years, it's a lot more popular. There's way more commanders, there's more interesting cards.
Both EDH and CDH have shifted. They've both become to some degree more mainstream, and that's just a byproduct of the format getting popular.
I think EDH is in one of the healthiest spots it's ever been. The introduction of the CAG has really helped the RC get a lot better and a lot more feedback. They've been very responsive to actual problems in the metagame. About the only thing I'd like to see change is I'd like to see what the vision is for the next, 10 to 20 years. And I think they're doing a good job so far. So
since I started playing, so full disclosure, I haven't been really a part of the online meta, CDH meta, since I want to say 2019. So I can't really delve into 2019, but when I started Magic and CDH in 2015, at that point it becomes such a more mid-range focus until Hulk was unbanned and then Flash took over, and it was just, well, who has Flash first? So other than that specific change, I actually think that it's gotten way more developed and way better, and just a better game overall, rather than just either race for the combo or stacks amount.
CountStorm123 asks, what is one card you would like to see banned or unbanned in Commander? Also, Jim, why is it Paradox Engine?
Take one card off of the ban list. Hashtag free braids.
One card I would like to see unbanned because it doesn't feel like it's relevant anymore is Coalition Victory. I don't know why that card's still banned. Like, I get it's not in the spirit of the game, but that card's not overpowering anymore.
It's not an exciting answer, but I personally don't think, as of right now, there's anything that needs to be banned or unbanned.
One thing I'd actually like to see banned in Commander is effects like Divine Intervention. There are very few things I hate more than spite, and if it's not spite, it might be sort of that paternalistic, oh, well, I didn't play this because I wanted to let you back into the game. I'm sorry your deck sucks so much attitude that you sometimes get from folks. Don't get me wrong, I understand it in some contexts, but it personally bothers me because I don't need it and I don't appreciate it.
So personally, I don't really think I have an opinion. I actually appreciate the ban list for what it is right now. The only real one I'd want to see is Paradox Engine, just because it made my Tishana deck so much better. But that's pretty greedy of me to say.
I've been on a bit of a mission lately. I would love to see Panoptic Mirror unbanned in Commander. I think that, I know why this card is banned, but I think that the format can handle it. The problem is that the format being able to handle it is not necessarily good enough to push it over the edge to get it unbanned, but that would be my answer. Panoptic Mirror, I think there's just so much stuff that you can do, but until then, I guess we'll settle for Galvanoth or something. I don't know, play something else.
Callahan is here, asks, which spike is the spikiest spike?
Elliot.
It has to be Elliot, right? I'm pretty sure it's Elliot.
It's probably Elliot.
That would probably be Elliot. I think he's the one that likes to win the most.
I'd like to throw my hat into the ring for being the spikiest spike. I think it's either me or Jerry.
Well, the Cactus is named Spike, so I think by definition he wins.
I'd want to say I have no idea. I think we're all pretty equal on a competitive level. It might be me, but that also might just be because I'm competitive and salty all the time.
No Coin Flips asks, what's it like to play Derevi stacks in a group where the decks are often wildly different from game to game? Are you still digging the experience? Do you want to try Cobblepot's Kenrith Fair Magic, or shift to something else?
I've been playing Derevi stacks for a really long time. You've learned very quickly, the format's always going to change a little bit, right? Derevi needs to adapt to that format, how it's shifting and changing, if you want to keep winning. So, I understand sometimes when I play, it's not going too well, but you know what? That's okay. You're not always there to win. Sometimes you just want to have fun, right? Apparently.
No Coin Flips asks, I think you've said a couple times on the show, and this deck is exactly everything I want to be doing in Magic. But for Bill it was Atla Palani, which I think got put aside, and Alex has played other stuff mostly. Can you tell us about that being excited yet slowly realizing the deck isn't right process?
I think the issue with Atla Palani that I had, even though it was a really cool deck and I had a lot of fun playing it, it sort of lacked in the interaction and redundancy department. So if you went to go combo off and somebody interacted with you, you were kind of just dead in the water. You were sort of floundering around. You could potentially build something else up again, but there wasn't really a lot of card advantage, anything like that. So it was cool in theory, but it didn't really work out as well as I wanted it to.
The best example I have of that is my very first deck that I ever got for Commander was an Oloro deck, and I slowly built it up to be kind of Pillow Forte, soft stacks, just leave me alone type stuff. And I just wasn't having that much fun with it. It never really won games. It got me hated out a lot. And eventually it morphed into Super Friends, but it was much less about Oloro at that point and much more about, well, I'm going to protect my Super Friends and do some really wacky stuff. And so I think that that's the closest thing I have to the deck isn't right process. Frankly, I just don't brew that much. I'm a filthy net decker. I look for things that look fun, like I troll over on Commander Mechanics channel, take a look at those, and if one catches my eye, that's what I'm going to sleeve up. Black Waltz Washu asks, which set has the best basics outside of full art, and why?
So my favorite basic lands are the lands from Commander 2016. I think that Mark Poole and Rebecca Gay both did amazing jobs with the basic sets that they released in that set. And Mark Poole's Shooting Star Swamp is one of my favorite lands in Magic. I think it's great.
My favorite basic land of all time is the Swirly Island from Kaladesh. I believe it's Island 254. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it is. That's my favorite island of all time, although the basics in Kaldheim are wild. I love the Northern Lights basics. The color set is so cool. And I also really like, I know Maddie likes this one too, so she might say that, but the APAC plains with the sunflowers on it is gorgeous. She's altered a few of those with floating borders, and I think those are my favorite basic lands of all time.
I'm really partial to Alpha, Beta, Unlimited Revised. I think the Chris Rush art is just spectacular. And if I could have all of my decks just be, well, I'm thinking of specifically forests, but realistically, if I could have just all of my lands be like Alpha or Beta, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Lorwyn. I love Lorwyn basics. I have this entire box over here full of foil Lorwyn basics that I use in decks. But I've also been transitioning to using the foil basic from the set that the commander is in. So like I built like a Fire Song and Sun Speaker, and I used Dominaria Plains and Mountains in that one. So I don't know, up in the air, I think.
So I think the best basics are actually from the guild kits.
Lorwyn, easy clap. The foils, perfect. The art, amazing. The cards, they tap for mana.
The Foil Arena promo basics, because I just think they're really shiny and pretty. So those would probably be my favorite.
Dan asks, outside of Spike, what player psychographs, Timmy, Johnny, Vorthos, etc., do you think you are?
I think that I'm sort of a mix between a Timmy and a Johnny. I like really big things. I really like my Gira deck and being able to make, just a ton of huge rhinos and beat people down with rhinos. But I also like comboing off. Like I like graveyard-based combo decks and creature-based combo decks.
I'm definitely a Johnny. I love putting the pieces together and making the thing go brrr.
I would have to say I'm probably a Johnny. I really like to do combos and card interactions and do cool things with cards that I'm allowed to.
I actually don't really consider myself a Spike. I would say I'm pretty well a Johnny through and through. I don't really have the compulsion or the need to optimize things. I like taking things that will create game situations that maybe nobody's ever seen before. That's what really gets me going in Magic. I would rather lose my way than win somebody else's way.
Fun story, true story for someone who's on the Spike feeders. I dislike the psychographs a lot. I think they carry more baggage than they carry descriptiveness in this day and age. There's just too much preconception and connotation to each one, and frankly, I don't like any of them. Even Spike is very charged in a lot of different directions in ways that just don't make any sense. we would have been better off if we'd never heard the terms, I think, as a community.
I like doing big splashy things, so whichever one that is.
Throwmocking asks, everyone but Jim. It's well documented on the internet that Jim's favorite card is Master Transmuter. What is everyone else's favorite card, and why?
I think my favorite card in my collection currently is, actually, I have it right here. It's this foil Japanese Academy Rector. I got it in Vegas, so it has like a really cool story behind it too.
My favorite card in Magic currently is Birds of Paradise. I specifically like 7th edition Birds of Paradise by Ed Beard Jr. I think it's a really beautiful piece of art, and it's a great card.
Mine is Doomsday, because I just love it, even though I mess it up a lot.
It's Chandra Torch of Defiance is probably one of my favorite cards.
I think my favorite individual card is probably Assemble the Legion. Between the flavor, the mechanics, the way it actually plays out, and the fact that it's Boros.
So I have two. Gaia's Cradle, because I don't know why, but just Gaia's Cradle shenanigans always brings me joy. Like, if I'm running a green deck, I'm going to count the creatures and see if I can jam Gaia's Cradle in there and make it work. The other one is Ancestral Recall, which, if you watch any Canlander deck of mine, other than my Abzan list or my Goblin list, 7 of my points are going to be Ancestral Recall in any of my blue decks, because casting that card feels fantastic.
Max asks, why Kalamax? Why now? What's your favorite part about the deck?
I really like Spellslinger type decks, and Kalamax seemed like a great commander for it, just because copying spells is A, a lot of fun, and B, it's also a lot of confusion. You can, if you play enough copy effects, you can just confuse everyone on the table, and then maybe they'll just get a concession out of it. But I think the 4/4 Dinosaur Teamer is an interesting color set. I've always wanted a cool Teamer deck, but I've never really found one, so that was one good thing I liked about it. I do lament that Kalamax doesn't have black in its color identity, just because the tutors, and there's some really cool spells I would have liked to cast.
Calvin asks, on a new commander, what is most likely to catch your attention and make you excited to build a deck?
So if I'm looking at a commander, I think I like to see things that are just more uncommon than what you might see from other cards that have already been made. Like when Derevi came out, I was really excited that, for 4 mana, you could just cast this thing whenever you want, and you could kind of skip the commander tax.
I actually don't typically get excited about building new commanders. So when new commanders get spoiled, it's very, very rare that I'm going to look at it and say, I want to build that. More frequently, something will get previewed like the Ozolith or something like that, or Ozolith. And it will get me thinking about all the stuff that I can do with counters. And so it might, I see the Ozolith, I might think, I want to build Skullbriar, or I want to build like Ishai and Rayhan or something like that. And it'll kind of be a callback to something that already exists.
This one actually is kind of tricky, but typically I look for something that does a thing better than it used to be able to do. And a good example of that would be Ukima. I guess not recently anymore, but got printed. And the first thing I thought about it was, hey, you can use this as a Parasitic Strix in the Alurin loop. And so I built that deck.
Or the first thing that gets me excited is usually the converted mana cost. And it's kind of a weird, well, not necessarily a weird thing. It's basically however cool this effect is on this card, how likely am I to get to use it?
I don't think there's any one thing other than uniqueness or play space. For example, Hamza, when he got spoiled, the elephant from Commander Legends that makes things cheaper if you have +1/+1 counters on creatures, or both him and other creatures are cheaper. Sorry, I'm bad at describing cards. Anyway, the point is that's unique, and that's something that spoke to me.
So when I look at new commanders, it's basically how many words do they have on them. Like, is there rules text box? Do you have enough room to have flavor text? If you don't have enough room to have flavor text, chances are I'll probably give it a look and see if I like it.
Aoa of the Fire asks, if you had to branch out to a second format besides EDH, What format of Magic would you want to make content for?
I probably wouldn't. EDH is how I like playing Magic, and I think if I didn't play EDH, I probably wouldn't play Magic.
I used to like cubing quite a bit. I like to play cube. I think you can really customize them. They're really versatile, and you can change your play group. You can have a lot of fun with it. You can make them competitive or casual. I would be interested to be making content for that.
Definitely Canadian Highlander. Love that format. Bill and Jerry and even Jim a little bit, and I have been playing it. And yeah, great format. Love it.
Probably Modern, and that's only because it's the only other format that I have any sort of significant experience in. I used to play Modern about twice a week, just at local game stores and stuff.
Well, in a past life, I was actually a fairly decent limited player. I've been a bit of a draft fiend back when I used to have time to go to FNMs. Cube is one of my favorite formats of all time. I actually designed and printed a custom cube at one point in time. It was all space themed. It was horrible, but it was fun to do.
Well, I already do streams of Canlander. We also have one Canlander video on the channel. We have an amount of content on the channel greater than 0. So Canadian Highlander would be my mine.
Tom from Neon City Police Department asks, what's your favorite underappreciated or pet artifact card for EDH?
Shout out to Tel Gilad Stylus, sleeper pick in Grenzo Doomsday.
My favorite underappreciated or pet artifact, every time I think about this, I always think of an unwinding clock.
If I had one, it'd probably be Thought Vessel for some reason. Just because I don't really like Reliquary Tower.
Barbarossa asks, what's your favorite pet enchantment?
My favorite pet enchantment of all time is Pattern of Rebirth.
Carpet of Flowers. I'd like to say I got in on that one before everyone else kind of figured it out. I think that card is great. It's a lot of fun.
Obviously, Withering Wisps. It was a very tech card in my Zur deck when Bill was playing Najeela a lot, because that card can be tutored by Zur, and then you're playing snow-covered lands, but usually only 2, but it only needs to do a maximum of 2 damage, because Najeela only has 2 power, and the Warriors only have 1, or toughness.
Favorite pet enchantment is Nether Void.
So I think I'd have 2, and they're both nonsense. The one that I try to make work more often than not, and has always been bad, no matter when I play it, has been Mind's Dilation.
Mink asks, aside from goblins, since they are obviously the best, what are your favorite tribes in Magic?
My favorite tribe is and always will be werewolves. If tribal was more popular, like if it was more playable in Commander, I would definitely have a werewolf deck. I think I could probably put something together with under like, what's that guy from Modern Horizons, Morophon?
I don't usually play tribes in Magic, but I'm going to pick golems because they're sweet.
Dinosaurs. I would even venture to say that dinosaurs are better than goblins, but don't tell Mink.
Vampires. So I'm going to go with vampires because I have a vampire deck.
Well, yeah, sure, goblins are pretty great, but I think my favorite tribe in Magic is probably soldiers or maybe warriors or knights, whatever they're calling the white tribe of humans that are somehow involved in combat.
Well, one day, I really hope they put farmer. So like it'd be like human farmer. And farmer would be my favorite tribe.
Sal T. Gourmand asks, what's your longest held / sleeved EDH deck?
Derevi Imperial Tactician. It's the first deck that I bought when Commander 2013 came out, and I've been tweaking it and reworking it ever since. So,
for sure, Najeela. Back when I kind of consider this to be like that, the Ship of Theseus, where I had it under a Carador deck, and then I sort of evolved it to a Sliver Queen 5-color combo deck, and then Sliver Queen got edged out by Najeela when Najeela was printed. So I like the spirit of the deck was there the whole time, where it was a creature-based combo deck based around Boonweaver, and then when Protean Hulk got unbanned, it was Protean Hulk. So I think in some capacity that deck was the longest, but even then, if you just wanted to say, what one deck, it's Najeela.
For this one, it's actually Zur. I don't play it too often on the show anymore because we try to keep things pretty varied, and sometimes a little lower on the power spectrum, and I feel like it's a really, really good deck, and it's really strong. I liked it so much I named a cat after it. I don't know if he's back there. He's not. It's there.
Longest sleeve deck is Yidris. I haven't busted it out and played it in a while. It's still sitting in a box somewhere.
My longest living deck now is actually my Aurelia the War Leader Go Wide Tokens deck. I actually sold out of Magic the month before the Spikes brought me on board. So it's literally the only deck I have since before September.
I think to this point it would be Brea.
Aether asks, what's your favorite interaction or combo of cards to play in your favorite deck, regardless of whether it's good or not?
I don't have one. Sorry.
So my favorite interaction is probably Bomberman interaction. I don't know why I like it. It's not... So I'm going to tell you it's not good, but it still wins the game if it's not interacted with. The reason it's not good is if it gets interacted with, you normally don't have a for that one, you don't have a hand.
Lyuka asks, if you like YTPs, what's the spikiest YTP? And if you don't, why?
I don't know what a YTP is. I'm too old for this question. It's okay.
I am not that big a memer compared to everyone else in the group. So I'm gonna say I don't understand this question because I'm an old man.
The spikiest YouTube poop is probably Pronsrars. I absolutely love that, and DeThings1 is the best YouTube poop creator ever.
The spikiest YouTube poop is probably Wow It's Made.
The hell is a YTP?
What's a YTP?
Scotty asks, what's your least favorite body part?
I would say my least favorite body part, I think, is also just objectively the worst body part, and it's the weenus. The little skin on your elbow. Sucks. Like, what is it even? I don't...
My least favorite body part is kidneys, because I suffer from chronic kidney stones, so it's the only part of my body that is actively trying to cause me damage.
It's definitely the antlers.
What's your least favorite body part? Probably my back or my knees. But that's just because they ache all the time.
Anchor Dude Man asks, you're stranded on a deserted island with 3 things apiece. What do you bring?
A submarine, a time turner, and I don't know, maybe some water, some drinking water or something. Like, you gotta bring one real thing, right?
A speedboat, a satellite phone, and gas for my speedboat. If those are not options to choose, I would probably pick a pallet of duct tape, a machete, and one of those infinity matches that you see on Facebook are advertised all the time.
Probably internet connection, high-end computer to use internet connection, landing strip for Amazon drone? Good to go?
A ship large enough to bring us back to land, enough fuel to fill the ship and get us to land, and enough food to make sure that we survive. And drink. Oh, that's cheating. Just enough food. Hopefully we can figure something out for drink, or just get to land quick enough. That's the real key. You just gotta survive.
Anchor Dude Man asks, what's been your favorite part of becoming content creators / Magic personalities?
It's just getting to know the community. I think it's also really afforded me a lot of opportunities when it comes to making art and being able to pursue opportunities as an artist. I'm really grateful for those things.
I think my favorite part about being a content creator is honestly just the community that we have on Discord. Having these people that sort of are all brought together by, liking Magic in not necessarily the high power things. We have a lot of people who are into lower power casual stuff. Everybody's cool. Everybody's civil. Our community is my favorite part.
I think my favorite part about becoming Magic content creators is getting to meet all the cool people and all our fans and stuff.
For me, it's been just the way y'all have treated me since I've come on board in the last couple months. I've felt very welcomed and positively received. Honestly, it's been wonderful for me at this kind of outlet. I've missed in my life. In a previous life, I was an actor. I enjoyed the spotlight. I really enjoyed, getting in the booth and, doing some voice acting, things like that. And don't get me wrong, the content creation, especially in the Magic world, is a lot less live. But it's still very much a show, and I think it's one that I enjoy putting on, and I'm just really happy that there are folks out there that like what we do. Honestly, we do it all for you.
I think it's really cool to think about the fact that sometimes people see content online and they'll think of me. I this is like maybe a really conceited answer, but I think it's so cool when a vehicle gets previewed and somebody tags me on it on Twitter, or somebody, there's something that says, oh, you can't lose the game, and people are like, hey Jim, do you think this would fit in Aetherlich? I think that's really cool. It's totally an ego thing, but that's my answer.
If you're gonna put me on the spot right now and force me to give an answer, I'd probably say just being able to start communicating with people of the community. Our Discord has been phenomenal. Everyone on there has been absolutely the nicest people I've ever met. And even if I were to somehow one day not be a spike feeder, I'd want to continue my relationships that have grown there.
Jerry asks, when does Jerry get to win a game?
How about, when does Madison get to win a game? That's the important question, okay?
Never. Not happening.
When he's earned it.
Depends. When's Jerry gonna get good?
You know what? This video's over.
Hey, thanks for checking out the Spike Feeders on YouTube. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure you click that subscribe button. And you can click this link to check out our other great videos.